Grant, thanks for hopping in at quick notice. What's it been like for you going from player to now assistant coach?
It's been a whirlwind. I was joking with the guys. It feels like it was yesterday when we were playing Hawaii back in 2016, and that was the first game I started, really. So it's been a whirlwind experience, but obviously a huge honor, and really appreciative of Coach Harbaugh to give me an opportunity and show the trust in me to be able to lead my own room.
Now that you do have your own room, obviously you've been a part of the recruiting process for a long time. Players are a part of that. You have been in different phases of your coaching career. You committed to Brady Hoke, and then he was replaced by Jim Harbaugh. What was that transition like for you, and how does that affect you? And when you go out and recruit players who they want to know, hey, is Coach Harbaugh going to be here? Are you Grant Newsome? Are you going to be here? What's your goals? How do you communicate that with some of your recruits?
Sure. I mean, I think obviously, first of all, like you mentioned, I was extremely fortunate. Obviously, I have a lot of respect for Coach Hoke, and was not happy that he was fired by any means. But selfishly, it was very fortunate that Coach Harbaugh got the job, and obviously a man who's changed my life. But in terms of my recruiting, it's pretty easy. I said this the other day to the media. There's no really kind of selling when it comes to Michigan. It's you have the world-class football, you have the world-class academics, and you have the opportunity to play for the best head coach in America. And I think, it's easy for me, especially, just like Coach Bellamy, Coach Hart, Coach Elston, et cetera, who have played here, because it's something we lived. So I just could talk about my experiences, and there's no, oh, well, I'm here, but if the job down the street opens up, then, maybe I won't be, this is where I want to be. And obviously, the dream is to be the head coach here someday, but I'm going to be here as long as Coach Harbaugh will have me.
Now that you do have your own room, what's it been like when you close the door, knowing that, hey, what I'm relaying to these players, getting this information across to them, it's all up to me, and I've got to be able to manage the room. I've got to be able to get this information from my head to the board to their heads. What's that experience been like for you?
Sure, it's definitely a lot of responsibility, but again, I've been super lucky and super fortunate to have not only a great staff and Coach Harbaugh, but also Coach Moore, Coach Weiss. The rest of our offensive staff, as well as Coach Jay Harbaugh, who have a ton of knowledge, not just about offensive football, but the tight end position. So that's been a huge help. And then also just the guys in the room, to have two sixth-year guys and Joel Honingford and Carter Selzer, and then obviously Scooney and Eric, who are two kind of seasoned veterans. So it makes it great, and the guys are all just kind of responsible, and they're great guys. They're about their business, which makes it easy for me.
You've had a couple of different styles of coordinators that you've been under. You had Josh Gaddis. Now you've got Matt Weiss and Sharon. What's it been like learning from and trying to, as you mentioned, someday the goal is to be head coach here. How do you pick apart and find pieces of what they do as a coach, but also what they have as an offense to what could be the future Grant Newsome offense?
Sure. I mean, I think that's the one thing like I said, I've been extremely fortunate to take pieces from Gat, from Sharon, from Matt, but also from Coach, and all the experience he has, not just in the West Coast, passing game, but also, at the tight end position, a guy who's coached Vernon Davis and Delaney Walker and Kobe Fleener, Zach Ertz, has really produced a whole lot of household names. And I think I've just been trying to be like a sponge and kind of soak it all in and take things and, just learn a little bit, from each person I've been fortunate enough to work with.
You had an opportunity to do a lot of different things and a lot of different things in the university. Why did you choose coaching? And you've already answered why at Michigan, but why coaching?
Football is hard to walk away from. Maybe you can appreciate it as well, John. It's it's not to say this lightly, but it's kind of addicting a little bit. There's something about being a player and just the sport itself. It's hard to leave. And then I think really for me, I had a lot of coaches, Coach Harbaugh at the top of the list, who really impacted my life. And when I got the position to stay in football, and Coach gave me the opportunity to stay here as a student coach and then move my way up, it felt like it was not just an awesome opportunity, but kind of my responsibility also to try to pay that forward, even if it's just a tiny bit.
What did last year mean to you? Because as we've kind of established, you came in, you were recruited Brady Hoke. There was a coaching change. Then you had Jim Harbaugh, and there was this 5-6 years where you've been striving to get to a championship, and then all of a sudden, hey, you beat Ohio State, You go to Indianapolis, you win a Big Ten championship, your college football playoff team. What did last year mean for you? Because you've seen it. You've seen kind of everything here.
It meant a lot. It meant everything. Like I said, it's been a long time coming. Not just in the time I've been here, but since 2004, really. So to be able to kind of give that to not just the current players, but also the former players, the guys I played with, who were never fortunate enough to win a Big Ten championship, and to be able kind of to put those demons aside and do it for all of Michigan. But more importantly, I was just happy for the guys, for the players. Those are the ones who work day in and day out to get to there, and then for Coach, for all the kind of crap he has to deal with, and hearing it day in and day out about can't win big games and all that other kind of stuff that he has to deal with, and he bears the burden of with his shoulders. So I was just happy for all the guys.
Everybody kind of remembers where they were, who they were with. Late November last year in that win over Ohio State. Obviously, I know you were amongst the coaches and amongst the guys, but when you left, what was that feeling like? What were some of the moments like that you had after the game, after the crowd had dispersed, just kind of reveling in that moment? What was it like for you?
It was a lot of fun. Obviously, incredible experience. I mean, it was nuts. I was up in the box with Gat and the rest of some of the other staff members, and the 4 minutes it took us to get down after Rod's tackle. Actually, we left really after a Jabo sack. It was like pandemonium had happened on the field.
Yeah.
Just a sea of 100,000 people, and I'm looking for players, and then I was worried people were already upstairs. So it was a whirlwind, and then kind of enjoyed it, and came back here, and then we got to work. We really didn't leave the building. Actually, just got to work on Iowa. So it was a lot of fun, but also I think it was kind of a good reminder for myself personally, and Steve Kasul and the other coaches we were with, that that's not the end goal. That was a huge mountain to climb for us as a program, but that's not the end goal. Just like we tell the guys, last year was great, but we're not satisfied that we can't be satisfied with that. The goal is Georgia, the goal is Alabama, the goal is beat Ohio State again.
So having said that, and we're going to take a quick break in a minute, and we're going to come back and talk about some of the guys in your room, but what is it as a coach that you learned through that entire experience of going to Indianapolis, getting a win, and then having a playoff experience but getting knocked out in the first round? What did you learn, and how can you use that to help coach your guys and be better this year?
Sure. I mean, I think the big thing is it's just experience. Like you said, I think experience is a great teacher, probably the best teacher for us as coaches, for the players to know that hey, what's good enough to get you there is not going to be good enough to win it all. And that we came out and played a pretty good game versus Ohio State, a really good game versus Ohio State. But then we came out versus Georgia and we're flat. And at that level, the margins are so small, you can't afford to have a bad quarter, because then you're down 17-0, 24-0, whatever it was, and the game's out of reach. So I think it just showed us, what separates a good team, maybe even a great team, from an elite, national championship winning team, is that margin. That's what we have to go out and get this year.
Well, we come back, I do want to talk. You got a very deep and talented room. A lot of guys that I want to get some more information on, but we'll be back with Grant Newsome in just a moment. Tonight's show is brought to you by Meyer, presenting sponsor of the 2022 Michigan football season and proud supporter of hundreds of local sports teams across the Midwest. We'll be back with Grant in just a few more moments. You're listening to Inside Michigan Football from Learfield. Back to Inside Michigan Football. I'm joined by tight ends coach Grant Newsome, and one of my favorite guys of all time, not just because he wore the number 77, but Grant, a lot of coaches have to shuffle things around due to injury. Guys maybe not ready to play. They're not ready to come back after an injury. You were faced with the task of not knowing whether Eric All was going to be available against Colorado State simply because he and his girlfriend were having a baby that morning. 7:30, his son, Houston, arrives. What was it like trying to figure out if Eric All was going to be available or not?
It was interesting because obviously Eric and his girlfriend Mia were due early that week. So I think it was Monday or Tuesday. So we were kind of like, all right, perfect. I don't have any kids, but apparently the first one comes later sometimes. So we're like, all right, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe Friday, we'll be fine by the game. And obviously, that's the birth of his child is way more important than the game. So we were like, it'll probably work itself out. And then she goes in labor Friday, and then we're all kind of like, all right, well, and we just kind of had to prepare. Obviously Eric's a really, really talented guy. So we kind of just, all right, we'll script the openers both ways. We'll get guys ready for if he's there and if he's not there. And obviously he got there about 2 hours before game time, and then went out and had a catch.
Yeah, and your room, obviously, if you're going to have a guy down for any reason, you've got some depth in that room. Walk us through what it's like to try and create a depth chart, but also, no matter who's starting, you've got guys that you want to get into the game, and certain guys do some things better than others. How hard is it, and how much fun is it knowing that you have so much talent to pull from?
Sure, we like to joke and call them like rich people problems. That we feel like obviously we've got two guys who are in my opinion, all-American type tight ends, and Scooney and Eric, and then we've got Joel and Carter who have both played a lot of snaps and games, and then beyond that, I think hopefully people got to see kind of on Saturday some. We've got a whole bunch of guys who maybe haven't played as much football, but we feel like can go out and win games for us, not just get us out of a game, but go out and win a game. And Matt Hibner, Max Bredesen, Colston Loveland's doing a really good job early as well.
Being a former offensive lineman, I got to believe that there's a special route when you get down near the goal line to get former offensive lineman Joel Honigford a touchdown.
It's got to happen at some point. There's no doubt we've got to get Joel a touchdown this year.
I mean, obviously being a former offensive lineman, what was it like watching him go through that transition of, hey, he's a 300-pounder, now all of a sudden, hey, we've got to get him down to 260, 250, watching him go through that process that we've gone through after we've left the game, but he's doing it to get back on the field?
It was super impressive, and obviously it's a credit to Joel and how much he cares, not just about the team, but also being able to contribute. To go lose all that weight, and obviously, like you said, it's a tough thing to do. Any offensive lineman would know. And the crazy thing is, as of right now, and at points, he's lighter than both Scooney and Eric. So, to go from a guy who was 310, 315 pounds to now is, in the 250s and lighter than, two guys who have been tight ends their entire careers. It's really impressive.
What is it? I mean, you mentioned that Scooney and Eric both those guys, you believe they're All-American type players. What is their best asset when they're on the field?
I think it's being complete tight ends. It's something that we talk about, and kind of the joke is that if you want the ball, you better be able to block for the ball. And I think you watch the tape. We watch a couple of those big runs from Saturday, and obviously the offensive line is doing a heck of a job as well. But Scooney's at the point of attack, Eric's at the point of attack, and having these guys who can go out and make catches like the catch everyone saw Eric make versus Colorado State, or the one-handed catch Scooney made in the Big Ten championship, or Eric made the Big Ten championship. But at the same time, you click on the film, and those guys are at the point of attack, and they're not just getting stashed off to the field, and we're running inside zone away from them. They're at the point of attack, and they're expected to be able to do every block in the offense.
How do you bring guys along like a Max Bredesen or a Colston Loveland that have a lot of talent? You see that raw ability, and you need to. Whether it's more discipline or it's just honing in on technique, how do you develop that from a young player?
I think it's a couple things. First of all, Coach Harbaugh does a great job of our schedule and our practice and getting those guys reps. Not just during training camp or spring ball, but throughout the week. And then also, I think it's a credit to the older guys in the room. And I said this before, but I'll never forget how impactful it was for me, who was to be in the tight end room in 18 and 19 under Sharon. As his assistant, and see Eric come in as a true freshman and kind of be that young kid who's just finding his way, to now we go to spring and Colston Loveland gets here as an early enrollee, and the person sitting right next to him during his first meeting is Eric All. And to see that how he's come full circle as the young man who was mentored by Sean McKeon and Nick Eubanks, two guys who are now in the NFL, to now he's kind of paying it forward on his way out the door. And same thing with Scooney, with Joel, with Carter. I think those guys do a heck of a job of being mentors for the younger tight ends.
What's it been like coaching with Sharon? I think he is going to be a future superstar, and you've got the opportunity to work directly with him as the offensive line coach and tight end coach. What's that been like?
I'm super blessed to be able to come to work every day. Not just with Jerome, but with the entire staff. But it's super nice that obviously the positions kind of work hand in hand, and someone who I have an immense amount of belief and trust in, and who I've worked closely with for 5-6 years now. So it just makes it really easy to be able to know that I trust him completely.
Well, Grant, I appreciate you stopping by, and we'll look forward to watching those tight ends the rest of the season.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.